Okay,
There we go.
ready? Okay, hi everybody. Lori Whitlock here. Welcome to class. I am super excited to be broadcasting here from the Silhouette headquarters in Linden, Utah. And I want to thank Michaels and Silhouette for inviting me to be here with you today. We're going to make a darling Christmas card in celebration of the 12 days of Christmas card making with Michaels. And we're going to be using our Silhouette to make this really cute card. We're going to be using the print and cut feature of the machine. So it's going to be super fun to learn some new techniques. And hopefully you'll get a few new things from the class. I picked up some supplies from Michaels. I've got 3 different paper packs that I picked up. This cute, this one's it's got a red piece on the front. It's got some craft colors in gray and cream. And this one has got some teal and pink, and I'm using the teal pieces and the blue pieces. And then this one has got some green. Anyways, these great reflections, collection card packs will work great for making this card. We're also going to use the print and cut feature. So you're going to need a printer and you're going to need your Silhouette. Today I'm going to be using the Silhouette CAMEO 4. In Michaels, they have this in stock in both black and white, and they have the Portrait 3 in stock as well. They've also got some Pros still in stock. So if you're interested in any of those machines for the upcoming Christmas holiday, now is a great time to go and pick those up. Like I was mentioning, the print and cut feature is one of my favorite features of the machine, and it adds a lot of versatility to what you can do with it. You can make custom stickers, and in this case today, we're going to be making some custom cardstock embellishment pieces for our card. So it's a quick and easy way to craft, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So we're going to go into my computer today, and I'm going to go through the list of all of the items you need for class. So let me share my screen with you really quick. And I've got the list of what you need to bring to class here. You're going to need the Silhouette Design Store image number 217722. And I'll show you where to find that here in just a moment. You're also going to need some cardstock. I've used a Teal Cardstock for the card base, and I've cut it down to actually mine's 11 by 4.5, but you could use 12-inch on your CAMEO mat. That'll work just great. I've used an 8 by 4 piece of dark teal or a pattern paper for the front and back covering panels of the card. I've got a 4 by 4 of the red cardstock or a pattern of your choice for the side covering panels, and a 4 by 4 of a light blue cardstock for the backdrop scene of the card. I've used it kind of for a light blue sky. A 4 by 6 of white cardstock, and you're going to need a sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock to run through your printer to print the embellishment pieces, and then we'll put that on our CAMEO and cut that out. You'll also need some sort of adhesive, tape runner or liquid. I'll be using a liquid today in class, but a tape runner would certainly work. You'll need your home printer, and you're going to need your Silhouette CAMEO or Portrait. You could also use some foam dots if you wanted to pop these embellishments just a little bit. But those are definitely not necessary. Okay, so let's go over to the Silhouette Design Store. One of the great things about Silhouette is you have access to this amazing design store with thousands, literally thousands of images. It's organized at the beginning here with what's new, trending designs, trending fonts, featured designs. Looks like they've got a bunch of my portfolio featured here today, which is really cool. But if you want to search for an artist, you can go up to the little artist tab here and go down and locate my name, Lori Whitlock. And I've got all of my files organized in that area. And I've got 9,585 different designs in here. And if you'll notice, you'll see that I include on a lot of these cards a little print and cut sentiment. So while most of these pieces of the card are layered cardstock, the little sentiment piece is included in the file, and you can just use your home printer and your CAMEO or Portrait to cut that out, which makes it really handy to make it really just finishes the card nicely. And that's what we're going to be learning how to do today, is to complete those print and cut pieces. anyways, these are some of my newest files here, but like I mentioned, you're going to want to search for this design number 217722. And it looks like this, and you'll need to add that to your cart. Go ahead and download that. And it should be free, so it shouldn't cost anything to go grab that today. And then when you go over to the software, it will show up in your library. All right. Anyways, hope you go check out the design store. I hope you go check out my portfolio. This card style that I have designed that we're working on today, there are several other cards that are very similar to this. So if you enjoy making this, you can go pick up a few more to make for the holiday that's coming up. Anyways, we're going to go over to the software now. And when you go to your library, let me just open up a new tab here. When you go over to your library, you can just type in shadow box, which I've done up here in the little search bar. And you can see that little card is here along with all the other shadow box cards that I've downloaded. But we'll go ahead and select that, double click on it, and it's going to bring it up on our design screen here. So these are all the pieces for the card we'll be making today. And all of those pieces of cardstock that we talked about earlier will correspond to these different pieces. And all of these little pieces right over in this area are the print and cut pieces. And I'm going to show you how to complete all of those. And we're going to play with some fun new techniques on how to change the colors and even use some pattern fills. So the first thing I would do to get this set up to cut is I would just move everything off to the side and ungroup all those pieces. And we'll just move things on the mat as desired to get them cut out. And you can arrange these any way you'd like. I am going to arrange them in a way that will let me cut several pieces at one time so that I don't have to make multiple passes. I can cut out my teal piece over here on the left. I can cut out my blue background piece over here on the right. And then I can take these pieces down here, which are grouped. So I'll need to click on that and click the ungroup button again and grab those pieces and pull them onto my mat down in this corner. And I'm just going to kind of stack those there together. So that's kind of what you need to do to get those pieces prepared to cut. That leaves us with all of these pieces that we still need to cut over here on the left-hand side, and we'll deal with those when we're ready to. So I'm going to go ahead and actually send this to cut. And I'm going to go into the send panel. And then you just need to, in the send panel, set your material type and make sure you have your action and your tool all set up properly. So this is actually a little heavier than plain cardstock. So I'm going to set this on like a, just a heavy cardstock, 80-pound. That should be about right. You'll need to do a little test cut on the paper that you're using to make sure that it's deep enough and a strong enough force. I'm going to speed this cut up just a little bit because we can. And I've got to move my little zoom window out of the way here so I can get down into the send part. Okay. There we go. Okay, I can get to my send button now. Just make sure that you have your machine chosen on your little machine list here. And I'm going to stop my screen share and I'm going to go ahead and load my mat and show you. Now, you'll just want to pay attention to our virtual mat here. We have our large piece here on the left. And if you'll notice, all of our cut lines are bright red. That's exactly the way we want these to look. If they were for some reason turned off, like they are on this piece now, you would want to make sure you physically select that piece and go ahead and turn the cut line on over here in your tool material section. So let's go ahead and I'll stop screen sharing and go ahead and load my mat. So I've got my mat loaded just like I had it on my virtual mat with my long piece of teal on the left and my blue piece up in the corner and my other piece of teal here. And we're just going to take our mat and load that into our CAMEO. And you'll want to make sure you line the mat up with the little double arrows here on the left-hand side and just go ahead and tap that load button. I'm using the light tack mat today just so that we don't curl our cardstock, but if you have a a heavy tack mat. Just make sure you season that a little bit so your paper doesn't stick too tightly. So I'm going to go back into my screen real quick, and I'm just going to go ahead and press the send button. Okay, our machine is going to go ahead and set the blade depth. We're using the auto blade on our CAMEO, and then it's just going to go ahead and cut out all those pieces for us. And those little dash marks it's making, those are our score marks, so we'll know exactly where to score or where to fold our card. All right, so I am super excited to have everybody here. It's fun that we can be together, even though we're all in our own homes. It's super fun to be able to take a class together and spend this time together. I don't know, I've got McKenna here answering questions and kind of watching for the comments. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask those. Also, if you're feeling a little lost in class, just know that this is going to be available on the Michaels YouTube channel. So if you want to come back and watch it later, or just slow it down or pause and rewind, you can do that. So just kind of follow along today, and then know that you can go back and catch up if you need to do that. McKenna, do we have any questions or any comments?
As of right now, people were just asking if they could rewatch it. So you landed on that, and then I think we're just gonna, I'll ask them as they come in.
Okay, all right. Feel free to send your questions in, and McKenna will ask them, and I will go ahead and answer them on screen. Before I unload my mat, I want to just double check that that's actually cutting properly, and it looks like it's cutting perfectly on all my pieces. So I will go ahead and unload that. And I'm just going to take my pieces off of the mat. And there's some little tools that Silhouette has that are super handy for that. Let's see. This is a little spatula tool. Be able to see that okay. Okay, and I'll just go ahead and take off. I'd like to take off the piece that's not the piece I need, my garbage piece first, and just kind of discard that. And that leaves me with all the pieces that I need. And you definitely want to be very careful when you're paper crafting not to curl your paper as you're taking it off the mat. So one thing that's super helpful is to flip that over and just hold it flat on the table as you peel the mat away. That works really well, because the last thing you want to do is curl all your pieces, because then it makes it really difficult to make a nice project. So that is, those are all the pieces that we need for our card base, basically. And we'll just go ahead and set those aside for a minute, and we're going to go and work on the print and cut. So let's go back into the software. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. Okay, we'll go back to our design tab up here. And now that we're done with all of these pieces, I'm just going to go ahead and move those off to the right-hand side of my screen. And let's get this set up for our print and cut. And I want to teach you a couple of new techniques. I know we probably got some beginners on here, but we probably got a few seasoned Silhouette users as well. So one thing I love about print and cut is the ability to modify or customize the file the way I want it. So if I want to change the colors or make some modifications, I can do that. So I'm going to pull these two pieces on as well. And we're going to go up into our fill panel. I got to move another little zoom window out of the way. Just a moment while I try and grab it. It's kind of hard to grab onto that. Okay. Okay, so up in the top of your side tool panel here, your right-hand side tool panel, there's the fill panel. And you can see all these different fill colors here. So I'm going to zoom in on my design a little bit. And this, like I mentioned, this is exactly the way the design comes. You can go ahead and do a print and cut with these pieces as is if you'd like to. That's the way my sample was made that you saw for class. And that works beautifully. So don't feel like you have to do anything to modify it. But if you'd like to take it another step further, you can go ahead and select these pieces. And I'm just going to move one around so that you can see that it is grouped with its outer cut line, that red cut line is grouped with the tree. So I'm just going to take that piece and I'm going to ungroup it. And I'm going to get it to where I can get to just that green piece. I'm going to undo that move so that I can just grab that tree. So I'll need to ungroup one more time. And see, I can grab just that green piece. I don't want to move it out of position, so I'm going to put it back. But now that I can get to that piece, I just want to show you that you could change the color of that fill. Isn't that cool? If you want your trees to be red, you could change them to red or darker green or whatever you're trying to match for a motif. But let me show you something that's even cooler. You can click on the third tab over and you can access all these fill patterns. And there are some that come preloaded with your Silhouette Studio software, like this wood grain. You could have a wood grain tree if you'd like to. You could change them to blue if you want to change your motif and your color to kind of a wintry blue color. But if you go into the design store, and I'm going to go back over to the design store so you can see this real quick. Let's go to the home page. I noticed that this week there is a free fill pattern that you can go download right here, free design of the week. You can click on that and go download it. There's also other ones available within the software that you can purchase, but you could go grab a free pattern and play with it today if you'd like to. But there's, like I mentioned, many others, and I've got a few others loaded down here. But look how cute it is if you grab like plaid, different colors of plaid, and I need to ungroup this piece again a couple of times to get to that fill pattern. So just keep ungrouping till you can grab just that green piece, and you can tell when it's selected because it's just selecting this area instead of the whole piece all the way to the bottom. So let's grab another fill pattern and look at this. If you go down to this advanced options area, you can scale that fill pattern up and you can scale it down. Isn't that cool? You can also rotate the angle. So say you wanted to change it a 90-degree angle or a 45-degree angle to put it on the square, you could do that. So those are some really fun options that you can play with when it comes to print and cut and fill patterns. So let's just proceed to put some fill patterns in all of these. And ungroup one more time. Keep ungrouping till you get that piece that you need. And here's a cute plaid. Isn't that fun? Maybe I'll change this one up here. That doesn't seem to match. We'll put those cute little stars in there. Okay, now let's go over to the snowman. We can do the same thing with his hat and his scarf. Let's go ahead and ungroup him a couple of times till we can get to his red hat piece. I'm just clicking ungroup a couple of times and then checking to see if I can get to the piece I need. Let me move. See, he's still grouped. Let's ungroup him. Okay. Okay, I'm not sure if I can completely, I'm not sure why he's not ungrouping all the way, but let's go up to our snowflake and see if we can get that one ungrouped. It was working earlier. Of course, when you're on screen, it's gonna give me problems. Okay, I think that one's ungrouped. Yep, you can see I'm able to fill that with a little blue polka dot pattern. Let's work on him one more time, see if he will. There he came, he ungrouped. I thought I saw him ungroup. There he is. Okay, I finally got to the hat. I had to use the keyboard command, Shift Command G to get it to ungroup. For some reason, I don't know why. I never had that happen before, but I had to use the keyboard command. Let's grab a red pattern and we'll just scale that up a little bit. A little snowflake pattern, isn't that cute? And we'll do the same thing with this scarf. And I'm going to show you one other little trick. Instead of selecting the same pattern and scaling it the same amount, you could just grab the little transfer properties tool while you have his scarf selected and then just click on, put the little needle eyedropper on his hat, and that's going to fill his scarf with the exact same pattern and the same scale. Isn't that a fun little trick? I love that. So that works for any transfer properties. If I made another little piece over here, I could use my transfer properties while it's selected. Make sure you have the piece selected, then go grab the transfer properties and then select the pattern and it will fill that shape. So I'm going to zoom out, and we're actually going to use that for these two side panels of our card. So we're just going to go ahead and grab, let's say, that cute plaid there, and put those on the side panels. So you could cut those out of red paper, or you could go ahead and include those on your print and cut sheet. So let me show you really quick how to set this up for print and cut. Did we have any questions on that, McKenna? Is that bringing any questions to anybody?
It doesn't look like we have any questions about it, but people really liked the tip. They thought that was really cool. So.
Okay, great. So I'm glad you're picking up on that. That's great. Like I said, if you need to go back and watch this later, that could be something you want to kind of go through a little bit slower as you're doing it. So let's go to our page setup panel over here. Just click on that. And then to set this up for print and cut, we need to designate our machine. So we're cutting on a CAMEO. Then we'll choose our cutting mat, which is our CAMEO mat, and we need to choose our media size. The media size is going to be letter. So that's the size of our paper that's going to go through our printer. So it's 8.5 by 11. You can set that for whatever printer you're using. Most likely everybody is using 8.5 by 11, but some people have a 12 by 12 printer. And then go to the third tab over, or the third icon over here at the top of your page setup panel, and make sure you turn those registration marks on. You'll notice that that's going to bring up the little square in the upper left-hand corner and two square marks here on the two other corners that you see here on my screen. And it'll also bring up some cross-hatched etched areas, and we need to avoid those areas, and we need to avoid those registration mark areas. So we need to pull all of our pieces out of those areas. These gray cross-hatch marks won't actually print, but you have to stay out of those areas so that the optical eye in your silhouette will be able to go up and read these registration marks and locate them to be able to cut out all of your pieces. So once those are turned on, we're ready to send this to our printer. So at this point, you would just go ahead and click print, send to printer. And when that comes up, it's just going to look like a regular printer dialog box. You'll just go ahead as you click print and oops, hold on. Is that okay? That messed me up. Turn my volume down. It is off. Okay. Is it okay? All right. Okay. So that'll bring up your printer dialog box, and then you'll just need to make sure you select your feed from, and I usually feed from the rear tray when I'm printing on cardstock. That's because the printer can just feed that straight to the printer instead of trying to grab that from the main tray and pull it around the drum. So go ahead and hit print on that, and then we'll go pick up our print off of our printer. So, okay, once we've hit print on that, you're going to get something that looks like this. It's got all of our patterns all printed out just the way we want it. And then we're just going to go and load that onto our mat. So we'll grab our mat, and you're going to want to load that in the upper left-hand corner of your cutting mat. Just like it looks on our virtual mat on our screen. And you don't have to be like totally perfect. The machine's going to read those registration marks, and it's going to know exactly where to cut. So now we'll go ahead and load that cardstock right into our CAMEO. Okay, back into our software. Let me get all of that off my screen. Back into the software, we're just going to go over to, I'm going to go to this one I actually had set up earlier, so it's in the same exact position as the one I've printed at home. But I've gone ahead, if you'll notice, and added a couple of extra pieces off to the side here. When you do a print and cut, it's basically going to leave the rest of this paper unused. So instead of cutting these on another piece of white paper, I just went ahead and added them to my print and cut. So just to show you what I did, I had my pieces that I sent to print and cut, and then I went ahead and just pasted these right on the side here. Okay, so now we're just going to go to our send panel. And this is the way you want it to look when you send it to cut. But if yours don't look exactly like this, say yours look like this, you want to be very careful not to send it to cut yet. You need to make sure you turn off all of those internal cut lines. You don't want it to try and cut out all those little tiny letters on Warm Wishes or right around the blue snowflake. We want to cut around those outer lines. So we need to select those pieces. We highlight them and then cut edge. And then if there's anything like earlier, just so you know that earlier I had this little tiny piece here that was trying to cut anyways. So I had something that looked like this. Just be really careful that you look closely and make sure that those internal cut lines are turned off. If you need to select them and manually just turn each one off, you can do that. But just be careful because I actually cut this at home earlier testing it out and it cut this little tiny piece here as well. And I didn't want that, so I had to redo it. So that's a good little tip to just kind of make sure you're cutting exactly where you want to cut. Then again, you need to set up your material. I'm going to go ahead and set this on the heavy cardstock. That seemed to work really well earlier.
Brian, it's super echoey.
And then, okay. Do we need to? I might have bumped that mute button there. That one right there. Is that better? All right.
Way better. Yeah, it's fixed.
Do I need to back up at all? Were we able to hear all of that?
Maybe if you could back up just the last.
Okay, I'm going to back up just a little bit. It sounds like our audio wasn't working quite right for a little while. How far back do I need to go? Okay, I'll just kind of back up a little bit to, okay. So sorry about that. Our audio wasn't working properly for just a moment. So we just pulled our pieces off of our printer, went ahead and loaded that onto our cutting mat. And we're going to go ahead and cut this out. So when we go to our send panel, I just was talking about how we need to be careful to make sure all of our cut lines are set up properly. All of these pieces right here might come in looking like this. And we don't want to cut around each individual letter of Warm Wishes, and we don't want to cut around each little piece of our snowman. We want to make sure we're cutting on those outer lines. So we just want to select those pieces and make sure we click Cut Edge. And like I was talking about, this piece earlier today was actually cutting this internal little piece for me. So you just want to make sure you select that if it's turned on. Just look closely and make sure that's turned off along with all the other internal pieces. This looks perfect. This is exactly what you want it to look like before you send it to cut. And I was talking about how I just went ahead and placed these pieces on my print and cut. Even though there's nothing that's going to be printed on them, it will go ahead and cut out on my white paper. And that's just a way of saving some paper. If you have some white pieces on your file that don't actually have any printing on them, you can go ahead and add them after or before you send it to print on your printer. So then just go ahead and set up your material. I'm going to use that textured heavy 80-pound cardstock again. Make sure your blade is set on the proper blade and check your settings. I'm going to speed this up just a little bit. And then we're going to go ahead and send it. And I've got to move this little window out of my way. And we'll go ahead and send that. And we will, oh, it's asking if I want to send it mirrored. I do not want to send it mirrored. Yeah. Okay, we'll go ahead and let our machine work. It's going to go find those registration marks in the 3 corners. Once it locates those, then it's going to go and cut out all of our pieces precisely. And this is the beauty of the silhouette. We're able to make these cute custom cardstock embellishment pieces really simply, and the machine's doing all the work. So they look kind of like little stamped images that have been colored in, but we're able to make them even more exciting with patterns in them. And we don't have to do all of the hand coloring. The printer is able to do all of that for us. So it's really good. Right now it's cutting out those little side pieces. I'm not quite sure, but the machine's going to reset its blade for the last couple pieces. Every now and then it'll do something like that. Don't be alarmed. It'll cut out everything it's supposed to. All right. Do you guys want to tell me all where you're from? I'm in Utah. It'd be kind of fun to see where everybody is joining us today from in class. McKenna will kind of watch for those to come in, but who's the farthest away? Let's see who our farthest attendee is today.
Let's see, we have Georgia,
Georgia,
Dayton,
welcome.
St. Louis, Florida,
St. Louis, Florida. Awesome.
Arizona,
Awesome.
Minnesota, Florida, Maryland, New Jersey. Wow, we got a lot of states pouring in now.
Awesome. Okay, welcome everybody. I'm glad you're with us today. That's good. Okay, I'm going to move my computer off to the side a little bit and we're going to test this. If for some reason your machine isn't cutting quite as deep as you would like it to and the pieces aren't coming off this cleanly, you can always resend it again or maybe set the blade just a little bit deeper. But we have a perfect cut on this, so I'm just going to go ahead and unload that.
Lori, we do have one question that's come in.
All right.
Marvin or Lucy just asked, can you change the size of the pictures? Like, can you upscale the card?
Yeah, absolutely. You could, the biggest limitation you're going to have on this particular card is this piece, which is 11.8 inches wide. No, sorry, 10.8 inches wide. So that's going to kind of max out an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. If you look at an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, that's how big it is. But if you were cutting on 12 by 12, you could certainly upscale everything so it's an inch longer. If you have larger paper than that, you could go, you know, as long as 24 inches on a 24-inch mat. So there is no problem at all with scaling these things up as long as you have the paper and the mat to put it on. So yeah, it's a good question. Make a really cute table decoration done large, wouldn't it? I think so.
Okay, and then we have another question. If you did need to resend the mat to recut it because it didn't go all the way through,
Yes.
Will it cut in the exact place it cut before?
Okay, so the question is if we need to resend it because it didn't cut all the way through and we have not unloaded it, would it cut in the exact same place? The answer is yes. I do it all the time. So if you, that's why I don't unload it before I test it. I always test it, make sure it's cutting perfectly. And if it's cutting perfectly, I unload it. But if it hasn't cut perfectly, you just go back to your send panel. If you feel like it's just not cutting through at all, you could increase your blade depth a little or your pressure a little bit and then resend it a second time and it will cut in precisely the same spot. If it's almost all the way through, you might not even need to change your settings. You just may need a second pass. So hopefully that helps. Okay, we're just going to peel these pieces off of our mat and I'm using the little spatula to help grab those little pieces. They're coming off perfectly. You see that, okay. Okay. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and grab the paper and pull it off. Oh, our little snowflakes there. Just watch those so you don't lose them. They're so tiny. I'm just going to kind of push them down and hold them down on my mat because it's sticky enough to keep them from flying away. Okay, and we'll just grab these little divider pieces, little, what do we call those? Little bracket pieces that go through the middle of the card. So the beauty of this card, I don't know if you noticed, but it will all lay flat to mail. So you can fit this in an A2 envelope. And if you'd like to put a sentiment on it, you could do that on the back. So you might want to cut the back panel out of a light color so that you can write on it. Something to think about as you're making this card. There's our little snowflakes. Okay, we have all of our pieces completely cut out and we cut these out of with our patterns. If you didn't choose to fill them with patterns, your printout would look like this and your card would turn out like this one that you have a picture of in the class description. But we're going to go ahead and assemble this one with our cute little patterns printed. And we're all done with this. So I'm just going to move the computer out of the way. All right, so I'm going to leave this little card here as our example of what we're going to be making. And then we'll just get our pieces organized here in front of us. So if you cut your red covering panels for the sides out of red, they would look like this, but look at those cute patterns that we just made. I'm just going to hold this up here so you can kind of see how that can change the look of the card by just adding those print and cut panels there to the side. So cute. I love that. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is take our card base and let's go ahead and find all those score marks. And we're just going to fold on those score marks. And it's really helpful to have a bone folder to get a nice crease on those folds. We'll just go and fold all of those in the same direction to form a box. And you can see how I'm using the table here. And actually that glue tab is right under here. So it's really nice if you can just use the table to help you push that down. And if you do that, you'll notice everything lays nice and flat, just like you want it to when your card is finished. So I'm just going to take a little adhesive and go ahead and glue that down. We'll put our inserts in after. I'm just going to use a little cardstock. I got a little thick there, so we'll just thin that out just a little bit. And I'm just going to use the table and a little pressure to get a good seal on that glue. And I will say with glue, less is more. So just don't use too much glue. You don't want it to turn out like a kindergarten project. So just use glue sparingly. Okay, we're going to put on our covering panels. And these covering panels would be really cute if we filled those with a pattern as well. So you could certainly do that if that's something you wanted to do. Let's put a little adhesive on that, and I'm going to get a little less glue on this piece. And Silhouette has this awesome little pick-me-up tool to help you pick up pieces, especially when they're full of glue like that. We'll just put that right on the front of our card. Perfect. Oops, that slid out of place. That's the beauty of liquid glue. You can kind of slide things around where it goes, and you can roll that flat and use the table again if you'd like to push down on that really well. And now we'll do these side panels. Oops. Just a little too much glue in that corner. I'm just going to drag that in here. It's always nice to have a piece of scrap paper handy. And this should have about 1/8 of an inch gap all the way around these pieces. And you can use your bone folder again to press down on that to get a good seal. And then we'll just fold that over the other direction. Go ahead and put the other covering panel on the other side.
People are wondering if you can fold the box again, and I think you only have one, but maybe you could.
I actually have one more over here.
Perfect. That'll be awesome.
Yep, I can show that one more time. It's a really simple fold on that box piece. So you have a little glue tab here at the end, and you're just literally folding everything all in the same direction. So
is that piece scored?
It is scored. So when you cut it out on your machine, it's going to automatically put all those scores in all the right places. So it's literally that easy. You're just going to take all those and just wrap it around and glue it. But of course, I would stop and carefully make sure you get a good crease on each corner, because then your card's going to turn out nice and crisp. Versus if you don't take the time to do that, it's just going to be kind of not quite as crisp and neat. And I mean, if you're going to take the time to make them, just take the time to do those creases right. And then to put that together, you would just put glue on this one glue tab. And then I like to use the table to push that down and glue it right on that glue tab. And then you'll know that your card's going to lay flat because you've glued it nice and flat on the table. So does that kind of answer that question? Okay. So back to the card we're putting together. we're just going to take our light blue panel and put it in the back. So it's going to look kind of like the sky in the background of our card. You wouldn't have to put that layer in if you just are cutting this out of blue, but if you use another color, say green or red or something else, you might want to think about putting a sky color back there. You might find it easier to glue this in place before you get your card folded up this far, but it's a lot easier to tell where everything goes if you just go ahead and fold it up and then glue it in.
Okay, somebody asked, can you use a glue stick or do you really recommend using like the liquid glue?
You could use, I haven't used a glue stick in a long time, but I really like this liquid glue, and I also like tape runners. They work really well. Liquid glue is going to last the longest. I've had projects with tape runners and with glue stick kind of things that actually start kind of falling apart over time. So I think using the liquid glue is the best option, but tape runners work really well too. Okay, so now we have our layers to put in. On our back layer, we've got a couple of trees. The little trees are back there. So before I install those, I'm going to go ahead and put my trees on. So I'm going to turn this hill. We've got the taller hill in the back, so let's turn it the right way. We're going to use the tall hill for the back, and I'm going to go ahead and put my trees on there, and then we'll put the little insert in. And I'm just going to fold those glue tabs back. And then we're going to go ahead and put our little trees on. So we'll put one here, and let me see, which one's the little one? We're going to put the little trees in the back here. Got to remember all the order on all these. And you could use pop dots for these if you want. I'm just going to go ahead and use some glue to put these in. Okay, that's actually enough for both of these pieces. So I'll just go ahead and pop those on there. And I've put some little snowflakes back there on those trees too. So let's go ahead and add our snowflakes. And let's use our pick-me-up tool because we've got it and it's so handy. You can just pick that up and add a little tiny dot of glue and then just add it to the little trees. If you need a little more adhesive to come out of that pick-me-up tool, you just twist it a little bit. And I have just a little too much glue on that one, so I'm just going to try and remove a little. But the good news is this glue will dry clear, so we'll just give it a little time to dry. Whoops.
Okay, Lori, somebody's asking what kind of glue, what the brand is, and then what can you explain the pick-me-up tool a little bit more?
Okay. All right. This glue is actually one that I found at Michael's. It's a Tombow mono liquid glue. I really like it. It's got two ends to it, but I typically just use the tiny tip on it for paper crafting, but there is a larger tip. It's a quick drying, nice, good paper crafting glue. You can try it out. It's at Michael's. And the pick-me-up tool, you can see a little bit of the glue, the little adhesive from the pick-me-up stuck to my piece there, which I don't want. It's kind of like that tacky gummy stuff that you have on your post, like to hang a poster. And some of it stuck to that piece. I'm just gonna get rid of that piece and we're gonna go with a new one. But it's got this little tacky tip on it and it picks up little pieces nicely. You just wanna make sure you don't lose the adhesive on your project like I just did, but it's perfect for picking up tiny little pieces. They're really hard to grab with your fingers. Okay, so we put our glue on there. Go ahead and place that down. And it's got another tip on it, the nice flat little end, and you can just tap that and put it in place. So we're gonna let that dry. And then let's work on our other piece with our snowman on it. So we're gonna flip this direction. Again, we're gonna fold those tabs back and we're gonna place our snowman just right in this area here. And we're just gonna use a little adhesive and I'm only gonna put it down on the bottom part of him. I don't want it up high because that part doesn't have anything behind it. So just put a little down in that area. We're gonna tip that over, put him in place. Perfect. Okay, We'll let that dry. Okay, we have these pieces left still. So we've got a cloud to put in the back here. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on right now. Flip that over. I'm just going to kind of have that pick me up tool help me put that down in there. You could use a pop dot on this as well. That'd be really cute. And there's another little snowflake I've got cut out over here. I'll go ahead and put one of those back there on our cloud. Okay, just put that. And you could actually cut extra snowflakes and put them in this all over the background if you wanted to. Okay. Let's go ahead and put our layers in now. So we just need to fold those 2 tabs in, and they're kind of self-spacing. If you put that in there and have it touch the back of the card, hopefully you can kind of see that. It kind of spaces itself properly, and then we're going to do the same thing with the next tab. So we just need to put adhesive on these 2 side tabs and place it in our card. Again, not too much glue, just enough. Want it to get in there and we want it to dry. So we'll just slide that in from the bottom. Okay, and then when it's in there, I like to just kind of roll it flat. That way I know my card's going to lay flat when I'm all done, and it should be in the perfect position when you open it up. Then we're just going to do the same thing with that next layer. Just kind of get those tucked in before you slide it into the card. Okay, and then we're just going to kind of roll that flat again. Just make sure the bottom's nice and flush along the bottom of the card. And there we have it. So fun. Now we just need to put the embellishments on the outside edges of the card. We have our other Christmas tree here. We'll put it right here. And in fact, I'm just going to add the glue to the front of the card so I make sure that it's not out in the open area. Just kind of down there on that corner. Perfect. And then we'll add our snowflake to this corner. And then our cute sentiment. Make sure you hold that till it stays down. And if you need to sneak a little more glue down under this tip. Whoops, that's a little too much glue, Lori. You can do that as well. Okay. And that pretty much completes our basic card. We have our back open still, and you can cut a covering panel for that. I like using the covering panels because it adds a little extra structure to the card, a little more, makes it just a little sturdier. If you wanted to cut this out of white so you have somewhere to write, you could, or you can use, a darker color like this, but you'll probably want to write with a Sharpie, and you might want to write on that before you attach it to the card because it might be a little easier, or you can just roll it flat and write it, but there might be a few extra lumps and bumps under there to write over. So it's a good idea to write on it beforehand. But you would just want to go ahead and glue that in place. All right, if you guys have any questions for me, now is a perfect time to ask. If you need any other if you have any questions about print and cut, or there's so many options, you guys. Like you could use print and cut to turn a piece that's supposed to be layered. Like some of my newest cards have like cute little Santas and different things, and they're intended to be cut out of layers of cardstock, but you could certainly keep them layered on your screen and turn them into print and cuts. So you don't have to glue all those little pieces together. So there's just a lot of darling ideas and options and cute crafting possibilities with print and cut. So there's our cards. You can see how they turn out just a little bit different with that pattern on the side and filling those trees and the little snowman hat with patterns. There's just so many fun things you can do, and you can customize them, and you can make them different for everybody that you send them to, or whatever you want to do. So McKenna, do we have any questions from anybody?
The main question is if you can attach the inner tabs before closing the cube, or if it's easier to do it when it's all folded up.
You could attach them before. Let's see. I've got another set of inner tabs. If you wanted to attach them before you close it up, you could. What I would recommend is that you attach them to one side. A lot of people find it easier just to do them after it's inside. But if you're making a lot of them, you could probably get the system down. You could just go ahead and put some adhesive on this little glue tab here on the side and glue it flush with the back of the card and glue it in place. And then just kind of leave this side open for a minute, and then go ahead and move that out of your way so you can see better. Then you could go ahead and fold this glue tab and glue it in place. And then you would need to, as you're closing it up, glue these two tabs in place over here on this side. So you could go ahead and put the back in and these tabs in. Some people find that more complicated. So but if you're mass producing them and you can kind of get that technique down, you could certainly do that. Anything else? All right, you guys. Well, this has been so fun. Hope you've enjoyed making this darling card. Hope you can go over to Michael's and pick up all of your supplies that you need to make some fun cards for the holidays. Christmas is just a few days away, and it's super fun to make customized cards to give to our loved ones, especially in this time when we can connect through mail and sending cards to our friends and family. So hope you guys enjoy making these, and I hope you go check out my portfolio of all of my other cute card making ideas. And I've got lots of YouTube tutorials that you can go and follow along if you're wanting more instruction on putting together cards. We can craft together more if you'll go join me over there. And thank you for joining us here today on the Michael's Zoom class, and be sure and go watch the rerun over on their YouTube channel as well. We will see you guys in another video. Have a great day and Merry Christmas.